First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Belinda Muggleton, and I am a co-founder of Dental Access. I'm actually based in Sydney, and I look after the business for Australia and New Zealand. This afternoon, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Daniel Portal. Daniel is a level 3 certified exocad trainer, and I believe one of very, very few, especially in this part of the world. I think he's probably the only one. Daniel is also a founder of Portal Digital Dentistry. So this is a focus on education and helping dental professionals with CAD/CAM technology and definitely different workflows. He also holds a role as a consultant for exocad in North America. So we just felt as exocad gains momentum in this part of the world, certainly great to have Daniel come online and to give us some tips and tricks on the exocad platform. Also talking about some of the workflows that are possible, and definitely looking at some of the new highlights with Galway 3.0. So just before we get started, we are happy to take any questions. So if you'd just like to jot your question down in the Q&A section, that would be great. We'll keep an eye on that. So if the question is relevant at the time, we'll take it at the time during the presentation. Otherwise, we'll take the question at the end of the presentation. So without any further delay, I'd like to hand you over to Daniel. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Belinda. Well, pleasure to be here with all of you. Thank you, Belinda and Dental Access for the invitation. Just to give you even a little bit more background about myself, I've been using the software for about 11 years, pretty much as long as exocad has been in the market. I've worked with other different CAD softwares in the market, and eventually I actually worked for exocad. I was doing all their tech support and training for the entire Western Hemisphere for 3 years. And then I launched my own company about 3 years ago. And as Belinda said, I focus on training other people on how to use the software. And also I offer design services. So that's I guess enough about myself. What I like to do now is just go over some of the new features that were launched with this latest version of the software. And focus mainly on the ones that I tend to use the most. Okay, so like Belinda said, I do like interaction, or as much as possible. So post your questions, I'll be looking out for it. And again, if it makes sense to answer it in the within the context of what I'm talking about, I will gladly do so. All right, so just to get started, what I like to go over really quickly is one of the main features that's come up with this new version of the software is this new restoration type. So there's a new restoration type called Mockup in exocad, which allows you to design exactly that, mockups. It's a very easy process for you to create either models that you can print out, or one of the ways that I use it, I can design restorations pre-op and pretty much have it ready for when surgery happens and implants are placed. I can take the design that I've already designed as a mockup, import it into my new case, and then adapt it to those implants. And that gives me a finalized design that I can send to the doctor within 5 to 10 minutes after surgery is done, and he can be printed on immediate load, almost chairside. So it's a workflow that I've implemented with a lot of my clients, and so far it's given us really good results. So with that in mind, I would like to show you one of the ways that this is used quite often. So we are going to work through this case. If you have the software yourself, we are going to be using the Smile Creator demo case to show this workflow. So this is the order form that was filled out for this case, and so we are going to be designing 6 interiors on for this case. And so just to kind of give a broad overview of the software, one of the things that sets exocad apart from the competition is the fact that it walks you through a very intuitive and a very logical workflow, depending on what kind of restorations you define in the order form. But besides walking you through that process, you have the option of accessing what exocad calls expert mode, which allows you to shut down the workflow that the software will suggest and gives you access to jump back and forth between all the different tools and steps of the workflow at your own pace, or in the order that you would prefer. Okay, and so the reason why I'll bring that up is because as soon as I choose an interior tooth and select it as a restoration that I'm going to be working on, the software prompts me to use the Smile Creator module. But I personally prefer to use it later on to kind of confirm the positioning I've done, rather than to do it directly from here. And I will show you what I mean. So we'll go through the design process. And what I'm going to do is, obviously I already understand the steps that are being proposed, but if we read the instructions there, we'll be able to get through each one of the steps, no problem. And so I'll just kind of speed through this initial part and get to the point where we start seeing some of the tools that exocad has launched with this new version of the software. And to me, the most useful ones come at this step when you're doing the crown positioning, or the initial crown positioning. And so we will quickly set up a quick arch here, just to kind of get an idea of what our restorations could look like. We have access to different libraries that we can choose from here. And there are, I believe there's five or six new libraries that were included as part of the basic exocad offering. So as you can see, all these come for free with the software. So there's quite a few of them. Once we choose that, in the next step, when we're doing the actual positioning, this is where I get to use my favorite tool in exocad, which is called chain mode. So typically in other software, and historically in exocad, if you needed once you got to the step, you had to rescale, reposition each crown in the correct place. But if by any chance you made a mistake and then you had to rescale one of your crowns, then you will have to shift that over, so you can scale this little central, this case, shift it over, and now you have problems here, so you have to shift that over as well. And as you rescale, it just ended up being a headache to try to get a decent positioning. Now with chain mode in exocad, that process is a lot easier, because you can establish either the midline first. Okay, so you can do that, and then what you can do is lock one of the centrals in place and then play with the other side of the arch, so that you can do that positioning really quickly. Now, one of the benefits of this tool is that regardless of what I do, the crown that I'm playing with always maintains mesial and distal contact. And so that way I don't have to concern myself with that part, with those details as I'm doing the positioning. That's going to be done for me. If I have to rescale, then it shifts and rescales the adjacent teeth to make room for the changes that I'm trying to implement into the design. And so this allows you to do this positioning a lot faster than usual. And so you are able to lock certain units in place, and then everything that's green, you're able to manipulate. So I am able to change, for example, this section of the arch that is between two lock points. And so I'm able to, once again, go through this process a lot faster than usual. Now with that, another of the new tools that came in is this new advanced tooth placement option, which allows you to have better control in the way that the software scales teeth, or scales the crowns that you're positioning. And so you are able to do this rescaling a lot faster and a lot smoother than before. The previous tools look more like this. So if I needed to scale this in the palatal direction, when I tried to do that, then it would also shift my facial surface, or it would change it. And so with the advanced, you actually have better control, so you can only scale the surface that you want to, while the facial remains more or less the same. At the very least, the shift isn't as bad as it used to be. And so you're able to have better control on the crown positioning. And so we are able to get through this process a lot faster. The majority of the cases that I design nowadays are full arches. And so these tools come in handy, cutting my design time in at least half. And so that I've seen firsthand the benefits of these new tools. Also, they give you the option of visualizing what your crown will look like if I allow it to be affected by the antagonist. So instead of just showing you where the contacts are, as I shift my crown around, it cuts the crown to show me the effect that the antagonist will have on it in real time. So as I shift through it, it'll cut the crown in real time and show me what it looks like. And that actually also becomes very handy, as sometimes the antagonist gets in the way of what you're trying to look at in the software. And so you're able to hide it, but still see the effects of the antagonist on your design. And so that makes it really handy and very helpful when doing your crown positioning. Okay, so these are some of the tools that exocad has come up with. The last one that I'll point out really quickly is the ability to make your incisal edges, or if you're working on your posteriors, the cusp tips, to make them either more pointy or flatter with just moving this slider control to one side or the other. And so this allows you to quickly design age-appropriate teeth, or if you don't want to create too much intercuspation, you can make your anatomy as flat as possible, and then I guess the patient wouldn't lock in place as easily. And so these are some of the tools that I use quite a bit whenever I'm designing this type of case. So once I have, and coming back to the Smile Creator tool, once I have my positioning in place and I feel happy with this, what I like to use the Smile Creator tool for is to confirm that the positioning I've done actually looks good in the context of the patient's picture. And so utilizing the expert mode, instead of having to go back in the process of design to the beginning where it prompted me to use the Smile Creator tool, I can actually access it at this step where I feel is more useful. Okay, and in the interest of time, I'm going to just load one of the images necessary for this case. And in my personal opinion, is actually with just this image, I'm able to achieve very good results. Now, I'm going to bring the smiling image of the patient. Now, notice one thing though, that is very important to highlight. The picture that is taken of the patient needs to be a high quality picture. I've had some clients who send me pictures of their patients laying down on the chair, looking sideways at the iPhone camera, and that's the kind of picture that they send me. And so the better the quality of the picture that is sent, then the better the results that can be achieved through this tool, especially when it comes to matching tooth shades and such. It makes it a lot easier for you to achieve better results. So I'm going to import that image, and then what I'm going to do is utilize two reference points that I will point out on the 3D model and also on the 2D image, and have the software align one with the other. Now, the alignment is hardly ever dead on, and so it takes a little bit for you to either move the model in the background or shift the picture around, scale it, rotate it, in order to get as close to a match as possible. And so I'll take a second to do that. And then once I feel that my matching is really good, what I like to do is confirm it by making my picture completely, make it not see-through. And then I can see how much the teeth dance, and that gives me an idea of how much discrepancy there is between the alignment I've done and the 3D object. Once my alignment is ready, in the next step, I will cut out his smile. The software proposes a curve by itself. And we're able to treat this like any other margin in exocad by adding or removing points to achieve a more accurate result. And so I'll take a second to do this as accurately as possible. And then let's pretend this is perfect. Okay. Once this is ready, then I'm able to move to the next step. And then the software cuts out a smile and leaves the models behind the picture. Okay, so now I'm able to move on to the next step, which allows me to identify the interpupillary line. And if my selection was correct, and it is made easier by a good quality picture, then the software will draw a midline based off those measurements, and it should be dead on if there aren't any issues with the patient's face. Now, we're able to import further information to do a better analysis of the picture. So we can create new planes, or we can create new curves that will allow us to better identify or identify features in the mouth so that we can create a better result. So either incisal curves, cervical curves, we can identify cants and correct for them, etc. And so once we've done that analysis, and I'll just leave these two for simplicity, then we go to the next step. And this is what exocad does is magic. Now, typically, the way these type of cases would be addressed is a good quality picture or a picture of the patient will be taken, and then it will be dropped into a software such as Photoshop. A nice image of teeth will be placed in the patient's picture, and then kind of send that to the lab with a hope and a prayer that the final result would actually match what was sent in the picture. Now, the issue with this type of approach is that the doctor would not know, or whoever made the modifications in the picture would not know whether that was prosthetically viable. And so exocad tries to address that issue at both at the same time with this step. So whatever changes I make to the 2D, I can see what happens in 3D in real time. And so I am able, through these tools, to create a good looking 2D image and know exactly where the 3D objects representing that image will end up. And so that way I can, whatever results I achieve here, I know that there will be prosthetically viable based on the position in real space and in 3D. So in this step, I'm able to make modifications to each tooth individually. Whatever changes I make, I can see reflected there in the 3D visualizations. I can mirror the changes that I make. So any change I make here, I can see it in the other canine as well. And then I also have the option of accessing some of the free-forming tools available in, let's call it, regular exocad design process. So I'm able to make changes and see what those would look like by pulling certain areas of the anatomies. Okay. So assuming that this is correct and we are happy with the positioning, I can then do a preview with a more lifelike coloring on the teeth that I've placed. Excuse me. Now, typically this tooth shade that's selected is going to be off, and that would obviously look out of place in the picture. However, when I go to the next step, the software will show me a before and after, but it would also allow me to make changes to the shade of my design. Now, you can also click and drag some of these shades from one to the other and kind of get a shade in between. However, the tool that I like to use the most is this custom color selection. So I can pick colors that already exist in the patient's mouth so we can get a closer match. So the first color will be a dark color that exists in the patient's mouth. So I'll use this stain. And then the highlight color, I'll just look for a place where the light is reflected. And that's kind of what we get. And so now when I zoom out, that is a much more acceptable shade matching so that I can either share this picture with the patient or with the doctor. And that's exactly what I would do at this point. I will have the software create an image showing me a before and after of this case. And so then I'll be able to visualize it here as a picture that, once again, I can load into an email and send to the doctor. Now, once I have this, and I like the shade that was created, I can go back to the previous step and continue to do any further modifications, but with the anatomies being shown in the more correct shade. Okay, so let's assume this is perfect. When I exit the Smile Creator tool, there's no guesswork as to where those crowns will fit within the patient's anatomy, because we've done both things simultaneously. And so now I can, from this point forward, I can move on to different steps of the process. I can either create a mock-up model for a suck down. I can, let's say, sit here with this design waiting for the doctor to do preps, to prep the teeth, and then I already have the crowns that will be sitting on those preps, or veneers, etc. And so it really opens up the options that can be achieved here. Another tool that I would use in this type of case is I would create what's called a Webview Link. Now, this is not necessarily a new tool, but it is a tool that I like to emphasize every time I show the software. What I'm able to do is create a fully interactive 3D preview of the design, and it can be shared. Since it's just a link, it can be shared over either text, email, and as long as you have a relatively updated browser like Google Chrome or Safari, then this is what it will look like. So it's a fully interactive 3D preview of the design that I just did, and you're able to hide or visualize or make certain meshes transparent in order for you to evaluate the design that's been done. And if there are any comments to be made, then we're both looking at the same exact information, let's say in 3D. And so you're able to give feedback to your designer in real time as well. So that's a really helpful tool that I use with every single case that I design. Once this is done, then as we move through the process, through the design process, I'll be able to show another new tool that was implemented with this latest version of the software, which is here when creating the connectors. So historically, we would have to move these connectors around, and we had different profiles that we could utilize depending on the teeth that we're designing. And so we either had that option, or we can go here into we will go into the freeforming of the connectors, which will allow us to change the shape of the connectors this way. Now, what exocad did is use this tool, but took it to the next level. So I'm able to utilize this multi-view design, and so it gives me a cut view of the connector. And so I'm able to see, for example, here we're talking about we're talking about the mesial of number 11. And so I'm able to change the shape of my connector, looking at it from the, let's say, connector area or connector point of view. And so I'm really free to modify this connector and make it look the way that I need to. Okay. Then you would, let's say, play with the anchoring point on the canine, and then you play with the thickness of the connector itself. And let me kind of make this transparent so you can see what I'm changing. And then I will play with the anchoring point on the lateral. And so that way I'm able to really customize the shape of my connector based on what teeth I'm working on, or which tooth position I'm working on. Right now, once we've done that, and we go through the design process, what we would do is move to the last step of the process, where the software joins everything together into a single unit. And when you're done designing, then the software prompts you if you want to create a model. Now, assuming that you have the model creator module, you're able to create a digital wax up model. So the software will automatically take your design into consideration when creating the model itself, and it will attach it as part of your final model. And so now there's no need for further workarounds where you would have to import your teeth back into the scene file as an attachment and have the software do Boolean operations, or you kind of force that process on the software. So it's all more streamlined now with these two new features. And so that would end up being my final result. Now, before we move out of this step, what I'd like to show is one last tool. So exocad now gives you the ability of extracting teeth digitally. So before, what you would have to do is go into the edit mesh tool and then select the tooth that you wanted to extract, delete it, and then have the close the hole that you just created. And that's kind of the result that you would get. Then it would take a little bit of time for you to free-form all these errors that will be produced through this process. Well, no more. Now I'm able to have the software do extractions for me. And it's just as easy as just clicking on the tooth that I want to extract. The software recognizes it and then extracts the tooth and gives me a sulcus. And I can determine more or less the direction of that sulcus, how deep that sulcus will be, or if I want a flat surface there, or if a flatter surface. And so I'm able to manipulate my model really quickly. Okay, so those are some of the tools, some of the new tools that I use quite often within the majority of the workflows that I do on a day-to-day basis. Now, again, quick question here, sorry. When we share Dental Share, will the dentist get to just view or edit as well? No, just view, it's just a viewer. So that's a really good question. Otherwise, I guess exocad will just be creating a free CAD software people can access online and edit. So as of now, whether that functionality will be added later or not, I don't know. But as of now, it's just a visualization tool. Now, when I was at exocad, there were some discussions about making it a bit more interactive, where you can actually give feedback through the link rather than, so if I see an error, I'll have to text you back or email you something back and let you know what changes to make. And so there were some discussions about possibly adding a way of putting notes on the design and arrows pointing to the things you wanted to point out to your designer to give feedback. So that's something that hopefully we'll get to see in future versions of the tool itself. Now, another tool that has been implemented is the option to design by splints, but with anatomies on the occlusal surface of the splint. Okay. Now, personally, I haven't run into a case where this was requested, but there has been enough demand for this tool that was implemented with the new version of the software. So the way it would work is, as you go through the design process, the software will allow you to place some anatomies. Okay, and then it'll take you through the same exact steps we just went through a second ago to position these a little bit better, giving you access to the same exact tools. And so in the interest of time, we'll just say that this positioning here is perfect for that side. And then the same thing here. All right, and then we can move on to the next step. The software will allow us to make any free-forming changes. Let's once again assume everything is perfect right now. And so then we'll get to draw our splint. So when designing the splint, all that's required is for you to join the line all the way around the arch. And you can do this as quickly as you want, or you can be extremely detailed. It all depends on how much time you want to spend on this and the functionality of the splint that you're trying to design. So I just go around the arch really quickly, just to give you a preview of what things will look like at the end. Then the software will calculate the splint. And then I'll just assume that this is perfect. In case that there were any changes needed, I can either add points or remove them, make changes, and have the software recalculate the outline of the splint. And then we'll get the new results. Okay, so assuming everything is perfect at this point, and that the occlusion has already been taken into consideration, the end result will look something like this. And we'll just give the software a little bit of time to calculate this. And so that way you can create bisplints that have the occlusion of the, well, you can create new occlusion, or you can actually copy the shape of the teeth of the natural dentition and add that to the splint if you see fit. Okay, and so it's a pretty easy process. And then this would be the result. As far as every time you do a demo, the software either decides to misbehave or to take a lot longer than usual. But this is more or less the result that we would get at the end of the process. And then that will be the splint with the anatomy on top. Okay, now the last set of tools that I like to show to you today is with this type of workflow that I mentioned at the beginning. So I am able to receive pre-op scans of the patient, and then I'm able to do my positioning, design the virtual gingiva, create immediate dentures, and those can be sent to the doctor for him to print or mill for immediate load. Those can be used by the doctor to either establish a video in case of the patient was completely edentulous to begin with. And then say that is sent and the patient really likes what they receive, then I'm able to take the design that I've already done and use it the day of surgery. And so this is what I've developed with a lot of my clients. The implementation of photogrammetry has really helped in this process, because it allows for the capture and the position of the implants to be extremely accurate. And so in the past year, I probably have done, I'm going to say maybe 300 to 400 of these cases, and we haven't had issues with the final prosthesis sitting on the implants. Everything falls into place. Now, there's some things that may be off of the occlusion and such, but for the most part, when it comes to the fitting of the implants, I've had zero issues in the past year since photogrammetry has been implemented by my clients. And so what happens at the day of surgery is the doctor will send me the information of the patient with the implants in place. And I'm able, in this case, for example, the type of information that was used is called the PIC. It's a photogrammetry system. So that was used for this case. I'm able to match that information very accurately. I'm able to identify the type of implant library that needs to be used. And so then I bring in the design that I've already done. And what I have to do is just trim it a little bit to make sure that I don't have all that flange from the denture setup. And then once that's done, then I have the software calculate that, and then it ends up looking something like this. Okay, then I'm able to access my free-forming tools to fine-tune the occlusion or any other details that may be necessary. And then I end up with my final product. Oh, let's merge it really fast. And it will look something like this as a final product. And so what this allows me and my clients to do is for them to have a structure that they could be printing for an almost immediate load before the patient even wakes up from surgery. And so they are able to send the patient home with something in their mouth that they've actually have been wearing for the past either couple of weeks or however long between the initial scan and the surgery. And so this has really opened up the window of opportunities of what to offer patients for same-day dentistry and such. Okay, and so these are some of the tools that I wanted to showcase for you guys today. And Belinda, if there are any questions, I'd like to go ahead and address them if possible.
Thank you, Daniel. That was really great. Have we got any questions out there? Just write them in the Q&A section. Daniel, that was really great, and especially the last part of the webinar in relation to the same-day full arch implant restorations and possibilities. And I think this is a workflow that I know that would be really, really interesting for us to probably take more of a deep dive. So I'm sure that we'll definitely look into the possibility of setting up a session dedicated to these types of restorations, especially since you said they are really, really popular, and you have done a lot of them. And I can easily see a great opportunity here. As you say, you can have these immediates on the printer before the patient even wakes up from surgery.
Correct. Now, one of the things that I like this versus what was typically called immediate load, where you design the prosthesis along with the implant planning, is that at the moment that the implants are placed, there's always a margin of error that can be included into the process, even if you're fully guided. And so sometimes what would happen with those type of restorations is that they wouldn't fit on the implants because of those discrepancies. And so what we can do now is avoid all of that by using photogrammetry, which gives us perfect implant position information, and then adapt the model to that, and we can skip all those issues.
Yeah, exactly. So that really enhances that accuracy process. Yeah.
So a couple of questions that were posted here that they want to talk about the availability of training dongles, I guess, as a distributor.
Let me, okay. Yes, let me, I can take that with you. I mean, there are some possibilities in getting some demo dongles, and especially if you've currently got the software. It looks like maybe you do have the software. So again, probably we just need to take a discussion on whether or not you have the perpetual license, or if you have the flex, and where you're currently at in terms of what version you're sitting on. So we probably need to take a look at your particular situation. But I did, you know, by all means, reach out to us, send a message to us, so info@dentalaccess.com, and we can take that separately. Do we have any other questions? I don't think so. Oh, here we go. Another one's coming through. Oh, sure. Okay, thanks. Okay, so I think just to let everyone know, I mean, if you want to take another look at any of these features or any of these workflows Daniel went through with us today, this has been recorded, and you can find this on the Dental Access YouTube channel. So it will be a really great review for you. As I said, we really want to take a look at some more specific topics, especially with the exocad, with DentalCAD software, so that if you've got any suggestions of what you really want to take a look at in detail, please also let us know your feedback, and we can certainly fix some really great sessions next year. So stay tuned. We will be doing more of these sessions. If you have any questions or about exocad, or if you've got exocad and you'd like to have additional support, or if you've got any queries, Adit, especially since you know you're not quite sure which which version you're on, and if we need to upgrade you, just reach out to us and we can definitely take a look at that for you. Finally, I'd like to thank Daniel. This has been really amazing, and you are really, really fantastic with the software. I think what you went through with us in just that short time was probably gave me more insights than I've seen on the new software than I've seen since it's been launched. So thank you very much. I think it's been a really fantastic session.
Thank you.
And again, we'll definitely stay tuned, everyone. We will definitely run some more of these sessions. So if you have any questions, as I said, reach out to Dental Access, info@dentalaccess.com. And in the meantime, I wish everyone a great evening. Daniel, I know it's really late for you, so
Kind of.
yes, you have a great night as well. And thank you again to everyone, and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.